promise everything will be okay. If you're listening here on the airwaves, it's that WBOK, 12:30 a.m.
From the campus of Xavier University, WBOK Go and Equity Media Station.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. The Archdiocese of New Orleans bankruptcy case is over. A federal judge approved a $230 million settlement for survivors of clergy sexual abuse. Survivor Tim Strahan says he's relieved.
The pain and the suffering that I've been through will now enable me just to be a stronger person.
The Archdiocese filed for bankruptcy in 2020 after hundreds of abuse claims. A man linked to the shooting of New York Jets cornerback Chris Boyd turned himself into Buffalo police. The 20-year-old surrendered 3 weeks after Boyd was shot outside a Manhattan bar. No charges yet as investigators review surveillance and witness accounts. And Whoopi Goldberg is a great-grandmother again. The 70-year-old star announced on The View that her grandson welcomed a baby girl named Lotus Dean. Whoopi said she prefers her great-grandkids call her Whoopi, keeping the family fun and unconventional. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
The following is a paid program and does not necessarily express the views or opinions of Equity Media, its management, staff, or affiliates of WBOK.
Now, it's the Monitor's Mic with your host, Stella Cement.
Welcome to the Monitor's Mic, where we talk oversight, policing, and you. I'm Stella Cement, your host and the Independent Police Monitor for the City of New Orleans, and with me is Chriselle Williams, our Deputy Police Monitor. This show is your go-to source for discussing policing, law enforcement oversight, and how it all impacts you. From the Office of the Independent Police Monitor, we offer an independent perspective on city government. The Office of the Independent Police Monitor, OIPM, serves as a crucial civilian oversight body for the New Orleans Police Department, the NOPD. We ensure transparency and accountability within the police department by making sure the NOPD follows their policies, is compliant with all local, state, and federal laws. We, your hosts, are not police officers, but we are experienced attorneys from the criminal legal field, dedicated to transparency and accountability. What do we do day to day? We at the OIPM take complaints of officer misconduct from the public and from police officers. We review misconduct investigations conducted by NOPD's Internal Affairs, which is called the Public Integrity Bureau. We're on call 24 hours a day, every day of the year for officer-involved shootings and critical incidents. And we'll go to the scene and monitor the force investigation from start to finish. We're advisory members of the Use of Force Review Board and disciplinary hearings. We run the Community Police Mediation Program, and we engage the community to ensure your voice, opinions, and concerns are heard. This summer, the OIPM launched a 24-hour hotline for complaints of officer misconduct or accounts of positive policing. It's operational every day of the year. The hotline is available in English, Spanish, and Vietnamese. You have the option to file anonymously through that platform, and you will be given a unique tracking number. You can reach the hotline through calling or texting 1-877-225-OIPM, which is 6476. For our show today, we encourage you to call in with your questions, comments, and concerns. You can reach us on air at 504-582-9422. While we may not be able to address any individual cases, we are committed to following up with you. With that, let's learn more about today's guest, Chriselle.
Today, we are honored to be joined by two guests. We have Captain Bax and also Major Roberts. Captain Preston Bax Jr. currently serves as the captain of the New Orleans Police Department's Special Operations Division, or SOD. In this role, he oversees and has overseen some of the department's most specialized and mission-critical units, including SWAT, the Crisis Negotiation Team, Violent Offenders Warrant Squad, Dive Unit, BOB Unit, Armory, Major Case Narcotics, VCATE, K-9 Unit, Mounted Unit, and Traffic. The units under his command are responsible for responding to the city's most complex, high-risk, and time-sensitive incidents. Captain Bax is a graduate of St. Augustine High School and holds a Bachelor of Arts in Criminal Justice from Dillard University. He is also a graduate of Northwestern University School of Police Staff and Command, where he was selected by his peers to serve as class vice president. Born and raised in New Orleans' 7th Ward, Captain Bax has dedicated his career to serving the city in which he was raised. Throughout his tenure with the New Orleans Police Department, he has held numerous specialized and operational assignments requiring advanced training, sound judgment, and decisive leadership under pressure. His experience and commitment to excellence have made him a trusted leader within the Special Operations Division. As captain of the SOD, Captain Bax is responsible not only for overseeing deployments, but also for ensuring comprehensive training throughout thorough post-incident review and strict adherence to departmental policy, best practices, and oversight requirements. A key priority of his leadership has been modernizing the division and ensuring officers have the equipment and resources necessary to operate safely and effectively. Under his leadership, the SOD has secured significant upgrades, including a Rook tactical vehicle, new weapon-mounted lights for all handguns and rifles, 4 new sniper rifles, upgraded gas masks, tactical vests, and ballistic shields. The division has also opened a state-of-the-art climate-controlled K-9 kennel capable of housing 10 dogs, added 5 new K-9s, and acquired new horse trailers, a hot walker, and trucks to support the mounted unit. These investments have strengthened operational readiness, enhanced officer and animal safety, and improved the division's overall effectiveness and professionalism. Today, Captain Bax joins us to help explain the role of the SOD, how decisions are made at the policy level, and how SOD works to protect life, support district officers, and maintain public safety during the city's most critical incidents. And we also are joined again by Major Roberts. Major LeJean Roberts currently serves as major within the New Orleans Police Department, where he oversees multiple districts, including the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 7th districts, as well as the Special Operations Division and Community Engagement. Major Roberts previously appeared on this show in September 2024, when he was serving as captain of the 8th District. Prior to that, he also led the 1st District and the Special Operations Division, giving him extensive experience in both district-level policing and specialized operations. Throughout his career, Major Roberts has overseen a wide range of units and responsibilities, including SWAT, the Violent Offenders Warrant Squad, Major Case Narcotics, K-9, Mounted Unit, and Traffic. He has worked in several districts across the city and brings a broad departmental-wide perspective to leadership. Major Roberts holds a Bachelor of Science in Criminal Justice and a Master of Public Administration, is a graduate of Northwestern University School of Police Staff and Command, and serves as an instructor for the International Association of Chiefs of Police's Leadership in Police Organizations program. We're excited to welcome him back to the Monitor's Mic in his new role as Major. We're so excited to have you both, and a lot of accolades can be given to both of you, as we just said. So thank you all for joining us again.
Thank you both. Thank you both for having us.
I'm glad to be here.
So let's just start with the basics for our listeners. You know, a lot of people may not really understand what is the Special Operations Division. So, like, what is that? What is SWAT? What is the K-9 unit? What are those things?
So, SWAT is it's an acronym for Special Weapons and Tactics. That's all it is. And the SWAT team is they respond to critical incidents, incidents that's called out by police personnel in the field, things that might get out of the scope or realm of capabilities, and so they'll call us in. We have special weapons, special tactics, different things, vehicles, operational things that we can take over that scene and render it safe, as safe as possible. K9 unit, that's our unit with, we have our K9 officers, our K9s with our operators. They go through extensive training, tremendous training. Those K9s work hand in hand with the SWAT team. They're part of special operations, of course. They're very critical with our response to those incidents where we're called out by police personnel in the field. Sometimes we'll have incidents where it's a little bit dangerous for operators, actual operators to enter, and we are able to, and they put them in a bad position. So we're able to get our K9 in those areas like that, and they'll protect the officers. And sometimes, and we consider them officers as well, but sometimes they could get in areas and spaces that we can't.
Like under a house.
Right, absolutely.
That's where I've definitely seen a lot of canine. And for anyone who's unfamiliar, we're talking about dogs.
Right, we're talking about dogs.
I know we talk about them as if they're officers and we respect their service, but at the end of the day, they are dogs. I don't want that to get twisted. We're not sending a human underneath the house. So yeah, sometimes we have to send them underneath houses. You'll send them into small spaces where people might be barricaded or might have tried to hide themselves. Areas where there isn't a lot of visibility.
Correct, absolutely.
And you want to make sure that you're keeping your officers safe, so the K9 goes in. Okay, interesting. Talk to us about crisis negotiation. That sounds really interesting.
So our crisis negotiation team, they also go through extensive training. A lot of times you might not see it in movies and TV shows and stuff like that. They just do the aspect of SWAT, but crisis intervention. Our crisis negotiating team, they are called in as well, and they work hand in hand with us inside our command post. They try to establish communication with the individual that we are having an episode with, try to establish dialogue with that individual, because the main point of it all is to render the situation safe as possible. A lot of people think the SWAT team, we go in guns blazing, kicking the doors and stuff like that. There's actually a joke that goes around across the nation is sit, wait, and talk. That's what SWAT really is. SWAT team, we like everything slow. Everything is methodical. We want to go step by step by step. If we have to repeat the steps, we'll repeat the steps because we want the resolution to be resolved in a peaceful manner, safe for everybody involved.
So, if I'm correct, is crisis negotiation similar to like what people might consider like hostage negotiation or something like that?
It's not on that level. If you have a hostage situation, a crisis negotiation member will try to establish dialogue. The only thing that they're trying to do is establish dialogue. Try to find out why the individual is acting out, why are we in this situation, what help do they need. If they could talk them down, it's about de-escalation. That's the main objective with crisis negotiation team. We have an outstanding team, and we have ended a lot of SWAT roles just by dialogue.
And they are very, very highly trained. The negotiators, they go through extensive training. And a lot of people have the misconception that SWAT is all dynamic, that we just go in and break doors down, breach doors, explosives, get the bad guy. But a lot of times people don't realize all the time that it goes into a SWAT role. Some SWAT roles last extensive amounts of time. I always tell the team, I say, they're ready to rush in or we have to slow this down. Time is on our side. The big objective out of everything is preservation of life, including the bad guy. Of course. We don't want anyone to get hurt. We don't want any officers to get hurt. We don't want to have to use force. So time is on our side. So we sit, like Captain Back said, sit, wait, and talk. SWAT. We use that, and we take our time and we really, really try to figure the best way to render the scene safe. Preservation of life, that's what it's all about. And we're really doing a really outstanding job over the past few SWAT roles with ending them peacefully.
Oh, that's great.
And that's because of the extensive level of training the New Orleans Police Department SWAT training team has.
So I just want to make sure that I understand this, because I've heard a couple times you say that you're called out whenever the NOPD personnel calls you out to the scene. So does that mean somebody who's in a situation where potentially crisis negotiation might be utilized or a K-9 unit might be utilized, they can't call 911 and just request that team gets sent out right away?
No. So the reason why that's set up is field supervisors, they have basic training to assess the situation. Our patrol officers, who do an excellent job answering call for service, to the citizens of New Orleans, do an excellent job. But when they get into a situation where it's out of their scope of normal field operations, they have to take it up a level up, and they have to be able to assess that. So they do that through training, yearly training, NOPD Academy, to realize those situations that needs a little bit more. You might need some officers with some specialized training, some equipment that they're not in possession of. And just outside the training they're very, very vital to that. If we had people calling in 911, we'd get calls all day about SWAT SWAT deployment. We couldn't handle those amount of calls. So those officers in the field are very important in assessing that situation, and then we'll take it up level by level, like Major Robert said. It's just all steps in the process. That's all.
We have a saying also that, when civilians need help, they call the police. When the police need help, they call SWAT.
Ooh, I like that.
And so, the equipment that we have, it's very, very beneficial in rendering the scene safe. A lot of the police officers play a big role when they assess a situation and say, hey, we need SWAT. They know that they're either in a situation where their guns are being fired at them, they don't have the proper cover, body armor. So, SWAT officers have special body armor, ballistic helmets, the ballistic bunkers. So all this stuff is carried on the equipment truck. Some of these the SWAT officers have them in their car. So they're ready to be deployed anywhere around the city, get tacked out, and start to work. So when we usually have a SWAT role where officers are pinned down or they're taking fire, we'll come in and we'll assess the situation. We'll start trying to get them out, evacuating them out and taking positions and isolating and containing the targeted structure or whatever it may be. But that's how they train, and they know the first priority is getting those officers safe and making sure that SWAT role doesn't go mobile. Keep it isolated and contained.
So it's kind of hard to conceptualize. This is so much information at once. It's kind of hard to conceptualize how this might look in real life. Can you give us an example of a SWAT role that isn't, currently pending litigation or something like that? Like an example of a SWAT role that you're allowed to talk about?
So we're not going to get into specifics, particular, but generalizing the SWAT role. You get a call from a district, and this happens quite often, that it don't arise to a SWAT role, or it might be a tactical assist. We'll get into that a little later, but you'll have a patrol supervisor. They'll call. They'll do an assessment. Either we have a risk assessment form. Tell us the situation. Risk assessment form have a certain amount of points that's associated with questions, and if that risk assessment point total to get to a certain threshold, then we'll respond to that. So say if that happens, we'll come out, either the armory sergeant, that person will make the call to the assistant commander, then to the commander. And we'll start having resources come out to that location. Now, a lot of times, like Major Roberts alluded to, the district personnel, which I say are very important, they'll hold down the initial perimeter, keep the scene isolated so it won't go mobile, and keep the perpetrator, whatever the situation is, isolated. And once SWAT team members start showing up on the scene, we start getting a perimeter team out, start moving those district personnel officers out out because we have like special armor. We could sit at those locations, and those officers be in dangerous situations until we get there. Once we get there, we could get them on the outer perimeter, hold down traffic positions and things like that. Once we get that, then the command posts come out. We start getting the vehicles out, crisis negotiation, trying to establish dialogue, trying to de-escalate the situation. Like Major Roberts said, we trying not to do this stuff. We trying not to use none of this equipment. All that equipment is for the protection of the citizens of New Orleans, our operators that's doing the deal, and also the perpetrators. We like Major Roberts said, we want preservation of life. We care about the individual that's causing the problem also. So we get all those things in place. Once that perimeter, all those equipment, different equipment is established, and the scene is as safe as it's going to be on the outside, that's what we try to do, establish the scene on the outside of the location safe as possible. Once that go, then crisis negotiation begins to do their thing. If they can establish dialogue, if they can't, we go to another step. It's different steps, like Major Roberts said, it's different steps. Sit and wait and talk. We are going very, very slow. We have a process. We have an order of things, how we do. We're just not going to kick in the door and get the person because they don't want to come out. We're not going to do that. We're going to try to talk to them first, and we'll talk hours before we could try to establish that dialogue to de-escalate the situation. So that's pretty much basically it in a nutshell, just getting the equipment, establish that perimeter, hold everything in place where we can try to establish dialogue with the individual and work it from there.
It sounds like you're almost like you're describing someone who might be barricaded. Like, is that what we should be envisioning?
Not all SWAT roles go smoothly.
Okay.
You know, and we've had situations where we've gassed individuals, then they still refuse to come out, and we have to make a physical entry into that target location and evac them.
Yeah.
And so it's a very, very scary situation. And as a team's leader, a captain, or the commander of the Special Operation Division, you got to make sure that the people you're bringing in that house are in the right mindset. You know, and that's one of the things that I was taught, excuse me, in my young career as a SWAT officer. My team leader, he looked at each one of us before we had to go into a house, and he said, "You ready? You ready to do this? Are you able? You're in the right mind frame?" And that's one of the things that pays to know your team, know the people you're going in with. You know, you have to have a lot of discipline, a lot of self-control when you're going into hairy situations. You could be experienced. I was, I think both of us were on the Alex Street role in the 4th District where we were taking on fire all night. And guy wouldn't come out, refused. And we had to make a physical entry into that location. Guy had extensive military background and training. And I was point person on the shield going into that house. And Hans Ganthier, assistant superintendent, was the team leader at the time. So it's not all peaches and cream. It's a lot. So you have to find the best in the people, the ones with the right mindset, that can make good decisions, split-second decisions. You got to trust your team. You got to trust your team. If somebody misses something, you got to make sure that you pick it up. You know, it's one team, one fight when you're in a situation like that. And so that's why we train together. That's why we know each other very well. So when we're going in that building together, that door, you got to know that your team member has your back and you have theirs.
Yeah, a lot of people apply, a lot of officers apply for a SWAT team, and they don't make it. So it's highly competitive. We want the best of the best because, like Major Roberts said, we always have a motto at a SWAT: you can't hide on the SWAT team. No member, even the junior operator, can't hide. At some point, you're gonna have to step forward and be a leader, and we produce leaders in SWAT team, you know, for the department. So it's very hard to get on the SWAT team.
I actually got to observe a SWAT role, and it was in the 5th District. I called out for a critical incident, didn't know that it was still a SWAT role going on. So, but I just wanted to point that out because by the time I got there, it was probably 8 p.m., and you all didn't finish till maybe like 6 a.m. the next morning, and it ended peacefully. But the level of patience and that you all showed throughout the night of actually you can hear the crisis negotiation going on. You can hear all this just trying to see what was going on with the situation and why he was being held, why he was holding himself up in that home. But you all really did sit, wait, and talk. You were trying so hard not to use any type of force. So that was something very commendable that I did see out there, that it was just really just trying to see how we can end this peacefully.
Right.
But Captain Bax, you did mention, there's no hiding in SWATs and type of people that you have in SWAT. So what type of personality traits do you think are a good fit for SOD?
So Special Operations Division officer, and we know we talking about SWAT team, but that could be in any unit in Special Operations, including our traffic division. Everything to get in any unit in Special Operations is hard, and it's done so on purpose. But to go and answer your question, we're looking for officers that's confident, that can think on their feet, that's able to articulate themselves. We like officers that respectfully challenge things. We want you to think. We bounce ideas off each other. We have guys with different personalities, but we need guys that's disciplined, able to handle themselves under pressure, able to articulate, able to write.
I like to say, emotional intelligence, patience, discipline. You're going to be put in some of the most precarious situations being on the SWAT team, and you have to show a strong level of discipline. You have to really, really train hard, and you have to stay focused. I've had instances where guys don't want to go in the house. They'll tell you, I'm not doing that, because of certain things that they saw or they might be experiencing, and we don't take that. We take that as them being maturing in their role and say, hey, I need to step out. I need to step away from this right now. It's too much for me, or we've been through too much. So it's not a sign of weakness in some instances. It's just saying, hey, you're developing, you're growing, and you know what your level right now is to I can't do this. And you tap out.
Yeah, you might be going through something there.
Yeah.
And that's a good example, Major Rob. It's like operator might be going through something like, I'm gonna sit this one out. I'll sit on the perimeter on that, because like Major Robert said, you got to be totally focused when you go in these houses. The people inside the house, most of the time, they know the house. They know the layout. We don't. So we going into their territory.
And we just had this conversation amongst the executive team earlier this week. We were on the anniversary coming up of 1/1.
Yes.
Yes. And, putting officers who were back on Bourbon Street this year, who experienced that earlier this year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And, you got to really ensure that your people are ready. Officer wellness is very, very paramount.
Very, very important.
It's one of the pillars of policing. And so you got to know your people, and you have to understand their needs, and if they're coming to work and performing at an optimal level each day. And if it's something that's bothering them, hey, you got to be able to be a supervisor or a peer and say, hey, look, you need to step away right now.
Right.
How do you train your SOD officers to deal with the pressure of this job?
So that's an excellent question. Special Operations Division Tactical Unit, we train weekly. Most of all the units in the SOD train weekly, but Special Operations Tactical Unit, they train weekly, put under different scenarios, pressure. We want to see how they perform under pressure weekly, because if we could train them how to do things, how to operate equipment, but if you don't practice it weekly, you could lose that skill. It's a developed skill, but you have to practice it. So we put them in through different scenarios, different situations, mock SWAT roles, bus assaults, vehicle assaults, residential. We'll do situations like that. Just different scenarios, put them under pressure to try to emulate what we deal with on a daily basis on the tactical unit. But training is, like Major Robert said, that's all we do. We train. We train weekly. We have quarterly qualifications that we do that they must pass. We do 4 separate quarter qualifications, and they have to score at certain levels to remain on the teams.
And we have a strong officer support system. You
Yeah,
know,
I was
and
gonna ask, like, what about as a person?
yeah,
Like,
you know, and
how do they cope?
it's a misconception that we should all clear up. You know, just because you're on a SWAT team, that doesn't mean you're not human.
Right.
You know, so you have to, you know, everybody has to take a step away at times. You know, decompress. You know, SWAT guys are human. You know, they're put in the most dangerous situations, but they're still human, and you still have to check on their emotional wellness and their physical wellness. So we encourage them to take care of themselves physically and mentally. And excuse me, we have a lot of strong sergeants back there that need help as well. You know, when I was the captain back there, you know, I used to come and lean on my team and for advice, and we used to all sit around, you know, and in that command post during those critical SWAT roles.
Oh, absolutely.
And discuss. And, you know, it wasn't just I'm the captain, I'm in charge, and this is going to be done. We all put that scenario, changed it 1,000 times. And we had those crisis negotiators in there who are excellent, who we're leaning on them to feed us information to continue that line of rapport with the subject who's either barricaded or having a mental crisis situation.
Right.
So we're anticipating that they're going to get that person to come down, turn themselves in, and you know that's the kind of stuff that we really, really appreciate about our crisis negotiators. They're special, and they play a very vital role in de-escalation. You know, and so we use a lot of them are peer support officers.
Yeah,
so you know they catch on things before some of their supervisors. So we see what we need to do, and we evaluate all those officers before we're bringing them in to that house when it's that critical time to make a move.
Can I just reflect on something that I'm hearing that I just find to be kind of surprising is how much you're talking about this concept of team. For me, and for I think a lot of the public, whenever we think about SWAT or whenever we're thinking about these like high pressure moments that kind of resemble things that you might see in an action movie, like, you know, Die Hard or something that's inside of like, you know, Inside Man by Spike Lee. Like, you know, you're thinking almost about officers that are lone wolves, officers that are like unique and different from the pack. And that's what makes them capable of dealing with these like high pressure, high action moments. And what you're describing is something totally different. You're talking about how do these officers work well as a team and know each other, and not how are they different and able to do stuff on their own. And that's very surprising.
Yeah, we thrive ourselves on the family atmosphere on the SWAT team. That's definitely preached from day one. We do everything as a team. We work out as a team. We work out every day. That's
Really?
required on SWAT team. We work out every day. They have to. So that's mandated by the department. So we work out, we eat together as a family every night, every day. Well, we used to be sergeants together. Major Robs and I, it used to be nighttime, but they eat every day together. A lot of them, they all know each other families. It's a team atmosphere. And so with the SWAT team, we have different assignments, different skills that guys possess. We have dive members. We have bomb. All those guys are within the SWAT team. We have guys that's snipers. We have individuals that's breachers that breach the doors. different guys have different skills, and when we have certain situations, we'll call upon them to use the particular skill. Everybody don't have the same skill on the SWAT team, so if somebody's down, the next man had to come up. So that's why we have several people trained at certain skills. But if it wasn't for the team effort, we wouldn't be successful. So it's one team, no individuals. We don't do that on the SWAT team. Somebody get injured like that, like Major Robert said, we don't have, no superstars. We don't have that.
There's no I in team.
No.
Yeah, it's very
One team, one fight. No I in team.
That's it.
I gotta ask because I always find a way to bring up The Wire during the show, and
That's a good show.
I always find a way to bring up. I always find a way to bring up the entertainment industry. Maybe it's the born and raised Los Angeles, Californian in me, but is there a movie or a form of entertainment that you think accurately captures the dynamicness of this work? Like, is there anything that, like, say I'm totally unfamiliar with SWAT and I kind of want to understand what this life might be like? Would I watch the TV show SWAT? Would I, like, is there something that kind of is out there that would help me conceptualize this?
I actually, you know what? I actually like the show on what was that, CBS, that SWAT show.
Oh, SWAT.
With Jamal Moore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's literally called SWAT.
SWAT.
Yeah, that show, I must admit, they definitely have tactical people advising them. With that.
Right.
A lot of times, of course, we don't solve our problems in 45 minutes like they do.
You
but
don't?
No, we don't do that. I wish Miss Kershell, she just said she was out there from 8 to 6 in the morning. So
Lord.
we don't solve our problems in 45 minutes like the show SWAT, but they definitely have a lot of real life situations and scenarios, so you can tell. So if you want to kind of get an idea on day-to-day operations, you might want to check that show out. It's pretty good. So, yeah.
The longest SWAT role I was on was 17 hours.
Oh, wow.
Oh my gosh.
And
This is
it
like a
was-
birth of a
yeah.
child. You're out there.
And we were actually considering, the guys were getting fatigued out there. And that's
at
the
some
last
point.
thing we don't want, especially in a critical situation, is fatigue on a SWAT role. So we were actually in the process of considering calling in state police to assist us to start relieving some of the perimeter guys. But at that 17th hour, that guy came out. So it can be long.
Yeah. I'm very glad you just, this is the perfect segue that you brought up calling in state police, because we had some questions about how you work with partners, agency partners, that I would like to transition us into, specifically kind of some of the work you do around federal task forces and agencies. Chrishell, I think you wanted to.
So with a lot of the work that SOD does, like Stella said, you frequently work with federal agencies or other partners. So what are some of the federal task forces that you actually work with?
This pivot back to earlier this year, SOD was very, very instrumental with the Super Bowl. We partnered heavily with the FBI task SWAT team, HSI, ATF, Louisiana State Police, and we were all a team. We really, and as a matter of fact, the State Police and New Orleans Police Department SWAT team trained together to
Jefferson Parish too.
And Jefferson Parish as well for the Super Bowl. Because we're all in one venue, the Superdome, as well as outside the 8th District. And so that was something that had never been done, and all of these teams working and training together. So yeah, you see a lot of that now. Collaboration is at an all-time high.
Absolutely.
With law enforcement in the city. We're working very well with the state police, Troop NOLA, the feds, HSI. And it used to be where we used to work in silos and nobody understood. And
long time.
But now the communication is so effective, and it's paying dividends. We really are working together, and we're partnering up not just with SWAT stuff. we have a situation where we want to do roundups, or
What's a roundup?
so we might have like several bad guys that are wanted and causing a spike in crime in certain areas and parts of the city. And so we decide, hey, look, we're going to go after these guys and pick them up. And we partner up with not just state police, not just our TFOs, our federal partners, probation and parole. We utilize everybody, and nobody has resisted. Everybody's come to the table and say, hey, we want to work with NOPD. We'll partner with this for the betterment of the city. And it's really, really, really remarkable to see that.
Even when we were under a consent decree, did you feel like people were hesitant to partner with us while we were under a consent decree, or?
I will say this. That's a great question. Like Major Roberts said, we didn't have that collaboration. All those entities worked in silos. Everything was secretive and information was limited. When Superintendent Kirkpatrick took over, she really established those connections with those federal assets. So we have a certain amount of resources, but you're talking about the feds, they have an enormous amount of resources. And Major Roberts talked about that before with the TFOs working with those federal agencies. But now Superintendent Kirkpatrick has those federal analysts and agents working with us inside NOPD buildings. That's unheard of. That's unheard
For our
of.
listeners who are unfamiliar, that is unheard of.
It is.
That really is. That's special. That's not something
really is.
that you're hearing about. Local law enforcement having embedded in them
Absolutely.
federal partners. That's special.
State as well.
Yep,
You
state
know,
police.
State as well. And we have a weekly meeting, and everybody comes. And it really, and we see a big decrease in violent crime as a result of the superintendent's initiatives to make sure everybody who has skin in the game in this city is at the table.
Absolutely.
Is at the table, and they're doing their part. They're sharing their resources and their manpower, and it's really, really showing a reduction in violent crime, quality of life issues as well, property crimes. Everything is on a downward spiral. You know, it's going down as a result of the collaboration between these law enforcement agencies. Public safety is at an all-time high.
It is. It is. And I hate to hear about great things and then say, now I want you to reflect on moments of discord, but I do. Specifically, now reflecting a few years ago, after the death of Breonna Taylor, and there were a lot of movements away from no-knock warrants. Now, NOPD, to be very clear to any of our listeners, does not use no-knock warrants.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. But the federal marshals at the time were. So how would it work when you're partnering with a group like the federal marshals if they are utilizing a tactic that you do not utilize? What role, like what happens when there's that kind of clash of potential tactics or strategies?
I can tell you right now, our VOWS team and the marshals that are embedded with us right now with our Violent Offenders Warrant Squad, we're knocking on every door, and they're doing that.
I am happy to hear it. Yes,
they are knocking and calling and announcing themselves.
Good.
That is
good.
That is not a process right now where we're doing no knock.
I could tell you this, Ms. Stella, that so Violent Offender Warrant Squad been working with the marshals a long time. And we, like we said before, we work with a lot of federal agencies, partners. Before we do any type of action with our federal partners, including the marshals, we train together, the marshals and VOWS do. We do briefings, pre-briefings, brief before we do. Everybody have all these ducks in the order. There's a procedure. And if we with a federal agency, if it's something that they're doing that we assist them with, that they running the show with, they running the show with that. But make no mistake, I want the callers to realize that NOPD, even though we have a lot of partnerships, NOPD does not deviate from NOPD policy and procedure at no point. So even though we work with a lot of different agencies and they have their protocols,
Yeah.
we're not going to push our protocols on the side because we're working with them. And everything is established before a pre-brief. Before we go to an operation, before we go, you guys Major Rob, we have a lot of meetings before we have a brief for an hour. Everything is established. Everybody know their role. So nobody's doing something out of their scope, NOPD. Even though we don't have the consent decree anymore, NOPD, that's policy. We have adopted that stuff from consent decree, and it's not going anywhere. So
And we're definitely not gonna backslide or deviate now that the consent decree, we're not gonna do anything that's gonna, retrogress from all the
Absolutely
success that we've accomplished. This is, as a matter of fact, we'll probably even be more harder on ourselves.
Right. Right.
So this is we're gonna continue to be the model agency for the nation. We're gonna continue to make tremendous strides in everything as we do, compliant, and everything constitutional, everything ethical. The TAC unit, we're audited. We're make sure that
All the time.
we have uses of force, they're documented accordingly. Warrants are properly documented. We're a very transparent department, and we're not going to do anything to deviate and put ourselves in a situation where we're going to backslide or retrogress.
it's all about community trust. When we have community trust, it just makes the city stronger.
Yes.
The community that trusts their police department is really unstoppable.
Yes.
It's really awesome.
They all laugh at me because I tell the recruits this all the time. I say, you all carry an imaginary box. On the outside of that box, it says fragile. And they all ask me, what's inside of that box? And I say, hey, it's called public trust.
Ooh.
That's it.
Drop it, it'll shatter.
Yep.
It'll shatter.
Hard to rebuild.
And,
You just said a lot. You just said a lot.
We are going to do our part, and we're going to continue to make strides in being a great police department and a model agency for the rest of the nation.
And you mentioned the pre-briefs that you all do. How you said you have, like you said, it was an hour, and everyone really kind of knows their roles. You don't go on any SWAT roles or do anything without everybody knowing their part.
Absolutely.
But after every deployment, there's usually a debriefing as well, right?
Yes.
Can you describe that to us for a little?
So, man, y'all have some great questions. So, so our debrief. So after we finish SWAT role or any type of operation outside of a SWAT role, because we have a lot of operations like that, everybody just don't shake hands and everybody leave. No, we go back to our compound and it's called a hot wash. That's what we call it. It's called a hot wash, and really we break down every step that we took. And the main thing about it is, it's not a I got you session or anything like that. We want to know what everybody did. What did we do right? What did we do wrong? What could we have improved on? Were all the policies and procedures performed correctly? It's a really we each individual operator have to go step by step with what he or she did during the operation. And if we have any flaws, anything that we can could have improved is going to get called out. But that's just to make us stronger, to improve. We want to have the perfect SWAT role. Nothing's perfect, but that's what we try. We strive to have the perfect SWAT role response to it. And like Major Roberts said, it's preservation of life. What could we have done better? What could we have improved? Officer safety of our citizens, and the perpetrator.
But isn't this Monday morning quarterbacking? I mean, I have to ask that question because we get that question 1,000 times all the time whenever we try to critique anything. And I know we're in a very, very, and by we I mean oversight, we're in a very different role. We played a very different part. We're not the active participants. But what would you say to that critique, that this is Monday morning quarterbacking?
We're very, very hard on ourselves and how we perform when we're in the role and when we're in a critical incident. So we definitely want a Monday morning quarterback ourselves. And so, everything is documented in a SWAT role. A report is generated, an author. From every time we make a move on a SWAT role, it's timestamped and documented. And we go through all that line by line, make sure we did everything. Could we have talked more? Could we have done something different? And and we make everybody dress down, and they go up to the board, and they draw their movements on a dry erase board. We have what do you call it, an inventory of all of the stuff that we used on that SWAT road, making sure all of our equipment is back, it's cleaned, it's stored properly. If we had to document force used, so it's a very, very long and tedious process, but it holds us accountable, and it makes us better.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so we are, like I said, I'm not sure all of the SWAT teams around the nation do it as intense as we do. But when I took over SOD from Captain Albert, Darrell Albert at the time, we did an inventory. I wanted to see everything in the armory, every gun. I checked it with every serial number, every bullet, everything in the EOD, in the Connex box. And then when I transitioned Captain Bax in there, we did the same thing.
Do the
He
same
looked at
thing.
everything that I was transitioning over to. So it's a long process, and
So
it has
this-
to be done.
This is happening immediately after the SWAT roll. So
Immediately.
17 hours on, and then you going back and do it.
Yeah. Now sometimes we'll get back and we'll do it, and we'll say, hey,
Give 'em
we'll
some
be
rest.
back. We might have to come back in 8 hours and do this.
Right, give them some
Yeah,
rest.
get some
But
sleep.
nobody's going home until we have an accurate account of our inventory,
Right.
and if any force was used, or if any property was damaged, or if things like that. Some of the critical stuff that we need to take care of. We'll give them some time. If it's a long roll, and they'll have to go back and get squared away, and we'll come back, and before we go back on the streets, it's getting debriefed.
So if you all do use force, is that investigated by the force investigation team?
Yes, all incidents. Well, most of the time when SWAT team is deployed, force is probably going to be used if it's not de-escalated from the crisis negotiation team. But everything, like Major Roberts said, is documented. We have scribes. Every word is documented. Every movement is documented. Anytime we have a display of our weapons, that's being investigated by uses of force. So any type of weapons displayed, any type of taser deployment, K9 being displayed, all that stuff is investigated. Anytime we have a shooting, a police-involved shooting, that's going to be investigated by a force investigative team. So if we have different levels of force. If it arises to, of course, a level 4, which is a police shooting, a dog bite, or anything like that, it's going to be investigated by a force investigative team. Absolutely.
And we know that's true. And there was one that recently got some media attention that occurred on Galvez and Canal. And we won't go into it. That's under investigation. But
Right.
But we were out there and we monitored that scene, and we can attest. The force investigation team is the one that does that investigation. So.
Absolutely.
Can we ask a couple, flash questions, like just yes,
fine.
no,
That's fine. That's fine.
just for our public, just who might not be familiar with some of your equipment and weaponry. Do you have Bearcats?
Yes, we do have Bearcat. We have a Bear. That's our large tactical armored vehicle that carries a lot of members. They actually don't even make the Bear anymore. Huh? Yeah, I think we have one
The
of
last bear.
Yeah, we have the last Bear.
You have Bear
we
Classic?
we had the Bear Classic. It's about 20 years old, but
Lincoln's been trying to buy it back from us.
yeah, that's how rare it is. But so that's our huge tactical armored vehicle. That holds a lot of operators in that vehicle. And then we do have our smaller one, the Bearcat. That's pretty much what everybody have now, even though they have a hybrid one. Superintendent, if you're listening, we do need one. We need a new one. But
Just put it in a plug.
yeah. So we have the Bearcat, and we have a new addition to the family. It's called the Rook. So the Rook is really an armored Bobcat, and they have a lot of attachments to it. And really, reason why that was purchased because if you could put a whole team inside of a Rook and they could go to the second floor of a location and they can extract hostages or victims that may be on the second floor while the perpetrator is on the first floor. Or we could deploy a team on the second floor without the knowledge of the perpetrator on the first floor. So we have a Bobcat that can elevate to the second floor.
Wow.
And so the city did a great job agreeing to buy that. It was about $500,000. So,
Yeah.
but if it could save one citizen life or operator life, it's worth it. So we're really excited about our Rook vehicle. A lot of departments, we might be, it might have a couple of more in the state that might have one. That's it. So we definitely needed that. So that's a great addition to our family. That's going to be, like Ms. Robinson said, great dividends for a lot of years to come, even when we retired.
Yeah.
And
For all you know, you might
service.
be hanging on to that thing for 20 years.
Yeah,
That might
we
be your
might
next
be.
bear.
Yeah, right.
What about tanks? Do you have tanks?
No tanks.
No tanks.
No.
What about boats?
We have boats.
You have boats.
Yep.
Okay. What about pepper spray?
No. I think the department, we banned that years ago, huh? Maybe about 15 years ago. Yeah, we don't use pepper spray anymore. Nah, that's obsolete in NOPD.
And for our listeners, we knew that. We just
Yeah, we don't use that
we
anymore.
just wanted to tee it up just to make sure
Yeah.
that everybody knows that.
No, we don't use that.
We don't use that.
Mm-mm.
Y'all don't use that. What about tear gas?
Yes, absolutely.
It's called CS gas.
Yes.
Okay,
So
thank you
Yeah,
for
tear gas, that's a
clarifying.
little-
Yeah, it's a long scientific name. Don't ask me what the CS, but it's a long scientific name. But it's a chemical irritant.
That's all it is.
It's
not going to kill you.
What about a flashbang?
We use flashbangs. That's a distractionary device. That's all that's for.
All right. Well, I see that we only have 3 more minutes. I just want to say that this has been so enlightening. And finally, do you have a piece of advice that you would want to give to an officer who thinks they want a career in SOD?
Great question. Come ready. Start preparing now. We want you to be in shape. You gotta be proficient in firearms. You gotta be in shape. We want thinkers on the SWAT team. We want people that's open-minded, that can receive instruction. Like Major Roberts said, you gotta be disciplined, but you gotta be able to receive instruction. You gotta be able to perform well under pressure. But we're looking for the best. If you feel you could do it, give it a try.
Go for it. Go for it. I spent 15 years of my career in the TAC unit, the SWAT team. It's been the highlight of my career. I really, really learned a lot.
Absolutely.
I have a skill set now that I can take anywhere, and it makes you marketable in law enforcement.
It definitely does.
It does. It does. So I train with these guys. I trust these guys. Captain Bax and I have been through many doors together, and we have a joke amongst just the two of us that we squashed the SWAT role in Algiers at 3:00 in the morning one day, just with our skill set.
Right.
And it takes a lot to learn it, but if you're dedicated and willing to put in the time and effort, go for it. Go for it. It's unlimited opportunities, a world of opportunities within the Special Operations Division. So I encourage all of the young officers who have any motivation of being in Special Operations Division, come see me. I'll coach you through it, and you'll get there.
Anybody want to be a SWAT officer, you got to come through being patrolman first. You got to join NOPD.
Yeah, join NOPD.
Come on
We're
through.
hiring.
That's
And
it.
the superintendent's always saying, hey, if each one of us reach one, we can double this department real quick. So join NOPD, and we'll get you in SOD if you want to. Got to work hard.
Thank you so much.
Thank you both for joining us today. That wraps up today's episode of The Monitor's Mic. I want to extend a heartfelt thank you to all of our listeners for tuning in and staying engaged with the crucial conversations we're having about police oversight and community safety. Before we close, I want to remind everyone about OIPM's 24/7 hotline. It's operational every day of the year, and you can call or text 1-877-225-6476. It's available in English, Spanish, and Vietnamese, and you can also follow through our website, at www.nolaipm.gov in those same languages. As always, if you missed any part of today's show or want to catch up on past episodes, visit our website at www.nolaipm.gov. And you can also find and follow us on YouTube at NOLA IPM, Instagram NOLA OIPM, and Facebook at New Orleans Independent Police Monitor. Until next time, stay informed, stay involved, and stay committed to building a safer community. This has been the Monitor's Mic.